Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm here today with Matt Nelson from EigenLabs, and we're going to be diving into slashing and trying to answer pretty much any question that you might have related to that. And I'm here with the right person. Matt has been working on slashing at EigenLabs and on the EigenLayer protocol for quite some time, and is probably one of the top experts within the company to kind of be going over this. So, Matt, do you want to do a quick intro beyond what I've just said about yourself?
Yeah, super quick. So I represent the product development of the protocol in general. So anything that touches the core contracts, EigenLayer, some other things as well in the kind of developer experience. And if you're an ABS or an operator or others that have questions about this upgrade, contact me. I'm sure we will share my information in the notes. We want your feedback. So yeah, happy to get into it.
Awesome. So to kick it off, let's just ask the question: what is slashing and what does it mean on EigenLayer?
Yeah, absolutely. So you probably know what slashing means on something like Ethereum Layer 1 or another proof of stake system. It's basically a means for the network to signal that a commitment has been broken. So in the EVM, that's something around a validator maybe doing a double sign, for example. They're trying to manipulate the blockchain via saying that one thing has happened when another thing has happened, or there's kind of two validators attesting to the same thing to try to gain the rewards. In general, slashings are means to penalize folks who have broke the commitments of the system. It's the same on EigenLayer. We are taking the kind of restaking protocol that we've deployed, and we're allowing developers to choose the types of conditions that they put on some of those stake that they've accumulated. So EigenLayer is typically represented as kind of a marketplace between developers, operators, and stakers. So the stakers provide capital to the system to gain rewards. The operators run the code that is built by the builders and developers. So the ABSs with this release will have a couple of new tools, something called operator sets, which is just a means for them to simplify their architecture and deploy kind of segmentation of operators, and also to layer on slashing conditions on top of those sets. So I could have 10 operators running the same code with the same conditions for when they're slashed. So the operators join that operator set. They provide some stake to the system as kind of slashable, unique security that is unique to just that ABS. And then the ABS will provide conditions under which that stake can be slashed, and the operator and stakers are penalized. So, bluntly, it just adds another instrumentation for ABSs to make sure that their services are verifiable and that they're committing to making those services follow certain guidelines and certain rules. And then they provide slashing as a means to enforce those commitments and amongst themselves, amongst operators, and amongst their stakers.
Awesome. Good explanation. So when is slashing coming out?
Yeah, so you can expect slashing later this month. Specifically, April 17th is what we were looking at. We have to push the upgrade through the final rounds of governance, but we have the protocol council that is run by the Eigen Foundation, reviewing all of the last minute things, including our audits, which are publicly available. You can check out the GitHub repository to review those audits, but we can expect it in about 10 days, which will be fantastic on mainnet. It's available on testnet today. So if you are looking to test and deploy some of these new features, they're available to you on testnet. Check out our documentation and our GitHub for more information there.
Awesome. So I guess my next question is why is slashing exciting, and what are some of the use cases that it unlocks?
Yeah, absolutely. So, slashing is really where we're kind of putting our rubber stamp on the V1 of EigenLayer, right? It realizes that kind of initial vision of how restaking protocols can work. It allows for ABSs or the kind of builders on our platform to develop real protocols that have real economic commitments, and they have real security backing the services. So we're really excited because it allows for this kind of full life cycle of services to be built, verifiable services to be built on EigenLayer. And it also provides a bunch of tools and kind of changes to the way that the protocol works to simplify the architecture up and down the stack. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited for that last building block. And we're also really excited because when we believe that when ABSs have the tools to build crypto economically secure protocols, that they can start rewarding their stakers and operators more because they have that last missing piece that they need to realize their own products and their own protocols. So we're really excited to see what people's creativity is kind of unlocked when they have the last enforcement mechanisms that they need to make good on their commitments and their services being verifiable. So really excited about that. We're really excited about the simplification of architecture. And we're excited that hopefully more rewards and demand will be flown through the system when people can reach customers with very real services built on real restaking protocols.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think the key thing for me, and from what you just dived into, was protocol complete. Like, this is kind of what we've been waiting to ship, to kind of complete the initial vision of EigenLayer. And then we have a lot of really, really exciting stuff that we're going to be moving on towards next after that. So I guess for the rollout of slashing, other than it just going live on mainnet, how do participants get started? And what does it mean for AVSs and developers that are already building AVSs, and for the operators who are already kind of live on mainnet?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really great thing about this upgrade is that it's entirely, essentially opt-in for both AVSs and operators. So, we have a migration path that's built around subtly and kind of, carefully adding new features for these people. And the reason being is that when slashing goes live on mainnet, it does not mean that you're immediately have fund risk. If you're a staker, there's a couple of layers of things that are happening there. And we, again, we want everyone to feel comfortable rolling these features out at their own pace. Slashing is a very important tool, but it's also one that requires careful design and consideration and careful communication with the operators and stakers that are running those protocols. So, most of note is that on day one, we, expect to have some really interesting partners building things, in around verification networks, folks like LayerZero and others, when they're building out these protocols. Over time, we'll see more and more folks adopt slashing. We have some really great, exciting, things coming out of Infura with the decentralized infrastructure network as well. We have some launch partners getting ready to roll out these conditions as we go into April and May in the summertime. But on day one, the real story is that it's a slow and careful migration. None of the existing features will be deprecated out of the box for AVS builders, for example, or operators. So there is a migration path of some tooling, but over time we expect that to kind of be realized. But the documentation, as we have it now, builds out on all of these primitives, so you can definitely check what we have in the docs to be more honed in on that stuff. But again, it's a careful rollout. There's no kind of immediate changes. It's very opt-in for both operators, for AVSs. Once they start rolling out these operator sets and these slashing conditions, operators will need to be more careful about, how they're engaging. Stakers should review, the types of operators that they're delegating to make sure that all of the kind of risk reward profiles match up. But as we turn the switch, there is no kind of immediate risk on. There's safety constraints built into the protocol. There's timing constraints. There's changes to the withdrawal flow that add additional safety for stakers and for operators that are looking to allocate stake to some of these slashing protocols. So definitely review all that stuff in the doc. If you really want to get into the weeds, you can read the governance documentation on our ELIP repository. But definitely just check out the docs that has a lot of this information. And again, to reiterate that it's a slow migration with opt-in specific controls for stakers, operators, and AVSs.
Awesome. So I guess the next question would be, when we're working with different teams, we have all of these different stakeholders that are EigenLayer consumers or customers or builders. Like, what are we doing to kind of help make all these different participants successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think slashing really enables the breadth of use cases that EigenLayer kind of initially inspired, right? We had a lot of use cases that people were looking to build that required that kind of crypto economic penalty to make sure that those protocols worked appropriately. So we're really excited that we're getting the last mile for some of these verifiable use cases that are built on kind of, like I said, I like the Infura use case because it uses slashing, or the DIN use case rather, because it uses slashing as a mechanism to both incentivize and ensure the correctness of tons of RPC providers. That could be anyone from a small kind of mom and pop business up to, their partners across the ecosystem, like major players. So in that instance, slashing is a means to bring more people onto the kind of platform, getting more people running the software, because you can, more trustlessly start to distribute tasks, work, and rewards, because you have the available deterrent of slashing to realize those use cases. So we're really excited to see what people build, and we're working directly with those partners to build out how slashing conditions look in the protocol. And this is another plug. If you are curious about how these things work specifically for your protocol, definitely contact us. We're also building out our templates, our tooling. We're working on our developer experience all up. We have a lot more to share in Q2 that we're very excited about. But we're doing a complete overhaul of the documentation to make sure that it's clear when it comes to the risks and the new expressive tools and the new protocol functions that developers will be able to access. So again, we're reworking all of our developer templates. We're reworking our documentation. You can expect these to roll out over the quarter, but definitely the docs are being kind of reworked for this specifically. And a lot of that material is available today to align with what we have on testnet. But just expect that continuing role as we get more use cases. We can highlight a lot of those. We intend to do more spotlights on, slashing folks. I encourage you to check out the podcast we did in ETH Denver, where we highlight 2 key use cases with LayerZero and DIN. So very excited to continue to highlight these stories, continue to provide more tools to kind of percolate the sets of ideas of how slashing can be used as a means to build out real protocols, right? So we're very excited about that, and it's going to be a continuous experience where we're learning and getting feedback from both the market and devs. So we're also just keen to put it out into the wild just to see how people react, to see how things get built, and then we can kind of work closely with partners and work closely with the ecosystem to iterate and provide better features over this year.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend that podcast that we recorded, and it's available on YouTube, and I'll try to share the link when this video goes live as well. So thanks for that. Okay, cool. So next on the actual Eigen token, I would love to kind of understand how both ETH and Eigen kind of fit into the slashing story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, out of the box, the AVS, the developers get to decide how and what security to take advantage of for their specific applications. And the reason we do this is because, developer choice is paramount to us. We want developers to have expressive security conditions. We also want developers to be able to do things like value Eigen tokens specifically in their security model, to value their own token in their security models, or to swap these things over time. We want people to feel comfortable launching tokens and using different types of security on EigenLayer, including natively restaked Ether. We think that ETH is a very important part of the ecosystem that we're building, and we know that people value the security of that asset due to its nature as kind of being this great secure and kind of valuable asset that we know has a lot of momentum and specific constraints around it. And so we see both of these things as part of this slashing story. We will support all the types of assets that we already support on EigenLayer as part of the slashing release. And what I mean by this is that they can be specifically set by the AVS builders as the types of security that they're valuing in those operator sets. Operators, the AVS rather, can decide that we don't necessarily want our competitor's token to be used by operators to secure our AVS. This is kind of more of an edge case, but I think it illustrates the point that the AVS can choose the type of security. This also includes Eigen because, over time, we believe that there's, continuous functionality that we're going to be adding around this token. At the same time, we know that Eigen is a very valuable part of the rewards flow to operators that are already running other infrastructure like EigenDA, for example. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to keep the Eigen token in all of these pieces of planning. But at the same time, it's the functionality that we're shipping with this first version of slashing is not inherently tied to any type of security. And we don't have plans to change that anytime soon. But stay tuned. There's very key pieces of our strategy here, and all of them are based on the various types of security that people bring to EigenLayer because we want to keep it as an open innovation marketplace.
Got it. That's really, really helpful. And we're going to getting close to wrapping up here, but I guess the last couple of things that I want to touch on have to do around kind of user security. So I guess we can kick off with how are users' funds protected from slashing? When slashing goes live, what does that have to do with anything having to do with the user's funds? Yeah,
absolutely. So to reiterate again, once slashing goes live on day one, nothing is immediately slashable. The AVS will need to do a few things prior to funds even being able to be slashed. One of those things is, again, launching those operator sets. Operator sets are the primary means for organizing operators by specifically the slashing conditions and the types of rewards and conditions that'll be associated with whatever architecture and groupings that the AVS can come up with. So the first thing that happens is they needed to build those sets. Operators need to then opt into those sets. And then again, they need to provide specific amounts of slashable security to that operator set. All three of those things require very intentional actions. I also hope and anticipate that AVSs and operators will be in close communication about the types of conditions that exist on these operator sets so that no one is left confused or left wondering around the kind of risk reward profiles that'll come with running these types of AVSs. On the staker side, we also provide controls around, again, we've increased the kind of initial allocation threshold. I don't want to get too deep into this because it's a lot of language actually that it boils down to. We've made it difficult for the first allocation of an operator to occur because we don't want anyone to be caught off guard when slashing does go live and those operator sets do go live. It'll take around 2.5 weeks for those first allocations to take effect. And it's not like this timer starts on day one. The timer will start the second the operator goes to start providing slashable security to an AVS. So again, we encourage stakers to communicate with their operators to understand what these operators are planning, to understand the AVSs that they are running. But we've provided that built-in protection so that the staker will fully have the option to withdraw if they don't understand or they don't know the risk mechanics that their delegated operator will be engaging with when the slashing goes live. There are many more constraints that we have in general on the system to protect the different actors. And those are all enumerated in both the docs and some of those blog posts we've put out recently. So we can link those in the notes. But I definitely think that you should carefully read those, especially as a staker. We have a staker guide that talks about the different constraints, some of the different safety concerns, and some of these other pieces. So definitely go review those. But suffice to say, once this goes live, there's still going to be a time lag on operators supporting these, slashable operator sets. Then there's going to be, again, a time lag for the operators to be able to allocate slashable stake. And what it means is that once that stake is allocated, it's slashable by the AVS. But again, we've built in these time lags so that stakers can observe these things, understand the risk reward trade-offs, and make their own decisions about this kind of as time progresses. And stay tuned to our channels. Again, we're going to do these partner highlights. We'll probably talk about these slashable operator sets as they go live to make people aware of what's happening. And highlight some of our great builders who are taking advantage of this. But nothing really changes the day we go live, so that there's no immediate fund risk. We're updating some of our contracts across the board. However, there is no added slashing risk that just happens automatically for users. I want to stress that out.
Totally. As usual, it sounds like there's been a lot of care and a lot of consideration around security and just taking the time to get things right as opposed to rushing it. So that's really, really great to hear. So the last thing I might want to touch on without getting too much in the weeds, can you kind of give a TLDR around veto committees?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of you may have been following the slashing journey over the past, year plus. The initial implementation had a veto committee that was built into the protocol. So EigenLayer would have a global veto committee for slashings. This was due to some of the ways that we had set up the security model that did not avoid like a cascading slashing risk. And what I mean is that, if one AVS were to slash, how would it impact the stake of another and the stakers and the operators of running other AVSs? So we didn't quite have it right the first time. The new kind of unique security model that we've employed removes this need by removing some of these kind of exogenous slashing risks. So there's a lot of material. You can Google kind of the EigenLayer unique security model. But the veto committee is something we've instead shifted from the protocol to a tool that builders can implement for their own slashings. So I anticipate there's going to be a lot of kind of governance wrapping around these slashing designs that AVSs will build. And this is, very common for protocols across the space, is to, design any time that there's like fund risk or, economic kind of commitment at stake. There should be the ability to intervene in cases of, smart contract implementation logic bugs or, human element bugs, fat fingers or direct manipulation. So we provided in our documentation kind of a first cut at how people can start to think about some of these designs. And there are very, simple ones. You could just have a multi-sig that's connected to a DAO vote. That would, in essence, be a veto committee. You can say, hey, we will not call the slasher function on EigenLayer until we have a quorum of DAO participants, for example. And I think that that's one really great design. There's many other ones. There could be, other kind of quorum logics. You could use really interesting, kind of token voting type things. It depends on the use case. But yeah, we provide a basic means to start injecting kind of governance thought into these things, because code is never perfect, people are never perfect, and we don't want to remove the ability for people to programmatically introduce slashing. So those that do not want governance, or it's very important to their use case to have instant, kind of programmatic slashing available to them, and also, we don't want to have the Eigen token holders adjudicate these types of things. For example, when it comes to, certain ABS slashings, that was another design that was kicked around previously. And we want to leave the door open in the future for more expressive slashing conditions, slashing designs. So we've removed the kind of controls in the protocol. We've provided some guidance on how we think it can be done. And of course, there's millions of other ways. And we hope that people play around and see what works for themselves, the operators and the stakers. So we're really excited to get that launched.
Awesome. So I have to say, this has been really great. I learned a lot, and I've been working it with EigenLayer and kind of like involved in these discussions. So I'm really, really excited to kind of have this discussion recorded so other people can also learn everything that we have coming up with slashing and all of these questions. I think a lot of these questions are popular questions. So we dived into some of these really great discussions already here. So I guess to wrap this up, like, where can people learn more? We're going to definitely link to a lot of the things we mentioned, including the Veto Committee page that we have already up. But yeah, other than that, like, where do you recommend people to go to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned to our documentation. Stay tuned to our blogs. Stay tuned to the Twitter. We are definitely going to start broadcasting updates. There's a lot of information that we want to share with the community involving partner spotlights, involving tech spotlights, a lot more transparency that we want to have around our upgrade processes. So stay tuned to the blog, stay tuned to the Twitter pages, the X pages. We're going to take advantage of the broadcast mediums that we have. We might do some more of these kinds of podcasts. So I definitely encourage you to look out for those. And as always, all these things will feed back into our documentation. So if you're ever lost and you don't know where, or there's too many links, just go check out the docs and docs and blog for sure. And then stay tuned to our social channels for more like kind of minute-to-minute updates, I'd say.
Awesome. Okay, well, I guess that wraps it up. So thanks, Matt, for your time today. And for anyone watching, thanks for checking this out. If you have any questions, feel free to either comment, jump into our Discord, or reach out to one of us on our team, and we'll connect with you one-on-one.
All right, thanks so much.